Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Speak Your Mind and I'm just saying my piece. Today I would like to talk about something that has been a sort of a bone of contention for quite some time now, and that is the tendency of the Jamaican police to stop people arbitrarily, especially in the ghetto areas, and search them. Jamaican police have had this attitude also of simply just pulling over a motorist willy-nilly with absolutely no probable cause and simply searching the vehicle. And they are claiming, or have claimed for quite some time, that they have the ability to do this legally. And I would just like to bring to your attention, and I know this is kind of a ruling that happened some time ago. I think this was in 2013, June to be exact, of 2013. So I want people to understand this, What I'm about to tell you, this is something that you need to learn, because here's what happened. Many people in Jamaica believe that the police have absolute power, and the police understand that the people believe that they have absolute power. And the problem with that is that people who are supposed to be law enforcement officers are not necessarily enforcing laws. They are enforcing feelings, and they are in fact abusing the law. So what I'm trying to say is this: look, if the police pulls you over with no probable cause, it is called reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime. And if there is no reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime, then the police has no right under Jamaican law to demand identification from you. They have no right to violate your person. They have no right to search you. They have no right to search your property. And the police has no right whatsoever, without a warrant, under any circumstances except something called exigent circumstances, to enter into your private property. So all those police who knock on your door at whatever time of night they want to knock on, kick down your door, come inside, search up your place, show you no warrant, and then walk off, that is illegal. For example, I saw recently a Facebook post where some guy had made a video. He was being disrespectful to the police. He said some things. Now, let us understand this. The guy has the right to say whatever he wants within the privacy of his own home. He has the right to say whatever he wants about whoever he wants, and the only recourse anybody has is to sue him under either the libel law or some other law. But the police does not have the right to go on your Facebook page, look at what you have posted, and then because they don't like what you have posted, they come to your house and to kick down your door and search it. It is illegal. But what we're going to talk about today is the tendency of police officers to stop you arbitrarily. Say you're driving from Kingston to Montego Bay. When you reach out, say, I don't know where, Spurtree Hill or somewhere like that, so you come up in a roadblock, police stop you. This is a search. Let me see your car, open the door. That is completely illegal. This has been illustrated by the courts by a gentleman, a justice called Justice Batts. And let me read you something here from the Jamaica Gleaner, and this is dated June 30, 2013. And the headline says, "Stop it now. Judge tells police to end illegal stop and search of vehicles. State ordered to pay taxi driver millions." And so it goes on to say, and this is by Barbara Gale, Justice Coordinator. A Supreme Court judge has ruled that the police has no power under the Road Traffic Act to arbitrarily stop and search vehicles, opening the door for a flood of lawsuits. The police have repeatedly argued that the law gives them the power to stop and search vehicles, and that this has resulted in the apprehension of criminals, the recovery of stolen vehicles, and the stolen farm produce. Well, that is really a noble cause, but the fact is that you must operate within the law. Now, but Justice David Batts says the police are abusing this power. Batts made the ruling when he ordered the government to pay $2.8 million in damages to a motorist who was assaulted by the police when he was stopped in St. Catherine in May of 2007. Batts emphasized in the judgment that lawful reasons must be given by the police for stopping and searching a motor vehicle. Batts has directed the Registrar of the Supreme Court to send copies of the judgment to the office of the Commissioner of Police and to the Commissioner of the Independent Commission of Investigations for action to be taken as seen fit. The judge said there was some relief that Section 58 of the Road Traffic Act gives the power to the police to stop and search vehicle without reasonable cause. The Act does no such thing, Batts argued. He explained that the Act allows for the redirection of traffic or stopping of vehicles for the purposes of traffic flow or some other reasonable purpose. In other words, it does not allow for the police to simply stop you and violate your personal space. He goes on to say that the request for documents and driver's license similarly follow some existing cause, such as a reasonable suspicion that a crime has been or is about to be committed. In other words, if you do not have a reason to suspect that the driver has committed a crime or is about to commit a crime, then you have no right to request his document. He is free to travel. The reasonable cause to suspect that an individual has or is about to commit a crime must relate to peculiar characteristics of the person or the vehicle he is driving, or the manner in which it is operated, or to information received, Batts said. In other words, you have to have some kind of reason. It has to be that the person fits the description, the vehicle fits the description, a time and the place fits. But simply stopping and fishing is illegal. He said further that in Jamaica, the citizen is free to move about without any obligation to carry a pass. That is to say, you don't have to carry any ID, and the police can stop you and say, look here, I want to know what your name is, I want to know where you live, and I want to know why you are on the road at this time of the night. They cannot do that. So again, he said further that in Jamaica, the citizen is free to move about without any obligation to carry a pass and is not to be subject to arbitrary or random searches. Batts noted that this was still a constitutional guarantee. In other words, it is within our constitution that they cannot do the things that they have been doing. And he goes on to say, I find it necessary to quote the Constitution and to recite its abbreviated history because of some surprising features of this case. And he's talking about the case where the motorist was assaulted by the police. Surprising because when the evidence from the defendant was completed, the matter of a lawful reason to stop and request such a search of the claimant's vehicle has not been addressed. In other words, the police simply said, well, you know what, man, we know we have the right to do it and we don't care. As far as we are concerned, we don't even have to talk about this because this is not even part of the defense that we're going to give because we already have that right. And the judge is saying, hang on a second, you don't have that right. Indeed, the attorney at law representing the Crown, when asked, stated that reasonable cause was the fact that the police were conducting random searches for guns and drugs. Again, noble but illegal. It is the casual attitude by the defendant and its witnesses to the individual's right to freedom of movement, freedom of the person, and freedom from search which has caused me to restate the source of these rights and the history of the struggle to attain them. In other words, please remember that we have a constitution and it is sacrosanct and you cannot violate it. And he goes on to say, it bears repeating that while lawfully driving his motor vehicle, the claimant was exercising his right to freedom of movement and was entitled to expect that as well as his other rights would not be interfered on without lawful excuse. In other words, he has the right to go about his business, and it is a fair expectation that he will be allowed to go about his business, and it is also a fair expectation that he's not going to be harassed by the police officers, and that is quite reasonable in my opinion. He said, let me say further, he goes on, that even on the account given by the defendant's witness, that is to say the police's witness, no lawful reason is given for stopping the claimant's vehicle, nor is there any lawful reason advanced for the desire to search the vehicle or for the alleged request for his documents. It is still the law of this nation that persons under the Queen's peace are entitled to freedom from search of their persons or property unless such a search is legally justified. I hold that it is not a lawful reason to stop and search a car based on the fact that the cars with similar features are often stolen and used in the commission of a crime. In other words, because I have a Toyota Corolla and I'm driving it down the street and people always steal Toyota Corolla, don't mean you get to stop me and check my papers. I mean, as people in the United States like to say, this is not Nazi Germany. So you can't just stop me when I'm just walking down the street and say, look here, man, I want to see your papers. Why? Because. No, you can't just say that. You have to have a reasonable suspicion that I have committed a crime or about to commit a crime. So you can't just stop me and say, let me see your papers. Oh, the papers are right. All right, go on by your business. That does not work in Jamaica. And a lot of people don't really realize this. And this is why I'm putting this forward. A lot of people say, well, boy, you know, say the police can't do anything in the car. Well, you can't. If you go and tell them, you know, you can't, nothing can do about it because of police. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. We believe we can't do anything about it, and the police get away with doing it because they know that most people, especially ghetto people who are uneducated, don't realize that they have these rights. And I will go on further to say that this is a distinct byproduct of the almost 30 odd years of constantly renewed emergency powers that the police have had up until I think it was around 1996 or somewhere like that, where a state of emergency was constantly renewed for years and years and years in Parliament. It was simply rubber stamped because they thought that, okay, you know what, this is a good way of, well, actually, it was a lazy way of trying to stamp out crime. So what happened is that there generations upon generation of people grew up not realizing that their rights were being violated, not realizing that their constitutional rights had been trampled on by Parliament itself. And there's a generation of police officers who do not know that these rights exist. And if they do not know the rights exist, therefore then they are going to violate these rights. So again, let us continue with what Justice Batts was saying. And he goes on to say, it would really be no different saying that an individual walking on the road bears similar features to the majority of persons convicted of a crime. In other words, he's of dark complexion and wearing shorts below the waist. Therefore, then, if you see somebody with dark complexion and wearing his shorts around the waist, which I would say about 90% of all youths in Jamaica right now, they're going to want to stop him and check him and say, well, let me see your shirt, let me see your papers. That doesn't work. So as I said, look, you have the absolute right to refuse to be searched. You have the absolute right to refuse to show any cop who stops you any papers whatsoever unless he has a reason to stop you. And so these are the things I would like to let people know right away. And you also have a redress. If a police officer does this, everybody has a phone these days. Take out your phone and record the police officer. Now, and that is something that we also need to get right into. You have that right. The courts in Jamaica have ruled that you have the right to record any police officer at any time at all, as long as he's in uniform or acting under the color of being a police officer. And he cannot tell you that you cannot record him doing what he's doing. You have that absolute right. So if he wants to pull you over, pick out your phone, take out your phone, turn it on and record. Now, thanks for watching this video, guys, and I hope I was able to get you to understand something, get you to understand that you do have some rights, a lot of rights as a matter of fact, and not because you're in the ghetto means that you're gonna give up your rights. Because look, not everybody who is in the ghetto is a criminal. Not everybody who live in Beverly Hills is honest. Well, let us understand that. And you should not be treated as a criminal, and you should not be made to feel like you're a criminal simply because somebody who has been put in authority to oversee and to ensure that your rights are being taken care of chooses to abuse that power. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm just saying my piece, and this is Speak Your Mind.